Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Crystal. Some people know me as Chrissy. Some people know me as Chris. This is my second video on the YouTube platform. My first video, I did talk about some of my journey from homosexuality to overcoming homosexuality. And I did say that in this video that I was going to show some before pictures. Okay. So this is one before picture. Sorry, they're not um, really clear. Here is another picture, and just one more picture. Here is another. Now, some people may say, well, she became homosexual because something may have happened to her in life. Yes, it did, but that's not my journey. That's not why I became homosexual. It was because of a lot of things. Mainly because I didn't know who I wanted to be. I lost myself. I went away to college to a different state. And normally people in their 20s, they already have an idea of how they want to dress. They already have an idea of, the personality they want. They are, who they are. But in my 20s, I didn't know who I was. I was still lost. On top of that, I had an accident in 2007 that left me with a limp, a permanent limp. And the first time I went to church after that accident, it did a lot mentally to me. I grew up where when you wore a dress, you wore heels. When you went to church, you wear a dress and you wear heels. I grew up in the church, um, in a strong Christian household. My mother was a prayer warrior. My father is a pastor, so on and so forth. And once I was in church, I had a dress on and I had to wear sneakers. And while we were praying, I couldn't really focus on the prayer because I started looking around at other women in the church and how they had dresses and they had heels. But here it is, I had a nice dress, but I had to wear sneakers with it. And that did a lot to me mentally. It actually made me feel less than a woman. So here it is. I had my accident that made me feel less than a woman. And then I didn't know who I wanted to be, meaning I didn't know how I wanted to dress. I didn't know, around my family, I would have one personality. Around my friends, I would have another personality. And it was all because I didn't know who I was. And I was always a tomboy. And that's another thing. I started using that excuse when I decided to become homosexual. I felt like, well, hey, I've always been different from my cousins. While they were learning how to play double dutch, I had the basketball. I was throwing the basketball up in the air over the power lines. You guys always knew that I was a little different. But during my journey of overcoming homosexuality, I realized that just because a woman is a tomboy does not mean that she's gay. She's just a tomboy. There are plenty of women who are tomboys who are married and they have kids. That doesn't mean anything. But when I became homosexual in 2009, to kind of get my family to understand, those were some of the things that I would tell my family, like, listen, I've always been, a tomboy. I also told my family, like, hey, you guys know when, mommy was pregnant with me, I was supposed to be a boy. So technically, you know, I'm supposed to be a boy. So in 2009, I called my sister and I said, hey, listen, I'm not going to wear dresses anymore. And she was like, listen, what are you telling me? Because even if you don't wear dresses when you go to church, you still have to wear dresses. So I said, no, you don't understand. I'm not wearing dresses anymore. So I cut off all my hair and I started wearing, pants, and I started wearing suits to work. And with me, I felt like this who was who I was supposed to be because I was able to reinvent myself and I was able to be who Crystal never was. Crystal was shy and Crystal would stay away from everybody, but Chris always wanted to be around people. Chris was popular, everybody wanted to hang out with Chris. So I got to reinvent myself, and that's how I became homosexual. I was homosexual from 2009 to 2019 mentally, and I overcame homosexuality physically, meaning by letting my hair grow, wearing wigs. 2021, possibly. I'm going to talk about what made me come out of homosexuality. A little bit more about my journey while I was homosexual. I would say, listen, I'm not gay because I was supposed to be a man. I used to think about having sex changes. I would talk to my older cousin and she would say, listen, Chris, if you're going to be gay, go ahead and be gay, but, don't do anything to your body because you may decide later that, you know what, this is not who I want to be. You may come out of this. And if you do anything to your body, you can. I'm so glad I didn't do anything to my body and I did listen to my cousin. But I was homosexual from 2009 to 2019. So there's a long story, or there's a lot I'm going to discuss. Hopefully this wasn't too long, and I'm going to do my videos a little bit more often. And if you have any questions or is there a topic you want me to talk about, just leave a comment. As I stated in my first video, everybody's journey is different. The reason why other people may have become homosexual, may be something else. But this is my journey. And on my YouTube channel, I'm going to talk about my journey to homosexuality, which this is one video of it. And I'm also going to talk about my journey coming out of it and my life outside of homosexuality. So stay tuned next week. And thank you for watching my channel.